Bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue à Learn French by Suchita. Je m'appelle Suchita, votre enseignante de la langue française, and in this video, I am going to teach you the most requested video of all the times, which is l'impératif. In English, that's known as imperative. Before we begin with this video, I would like to introduce you to my website www.learnfrenchbysuchita.com, where you will find recorded courses for all your French language needs. We have courses for DELF A1, DELF A2, DELF B1, TEF TCF recorded course, French phonetics as well. We have special courses for our school students ranging from grade 5 to grade 8. We also have courses for university students who are enrolled in certificate course or diploma course in Delhi University. And finally, we also have courses for our school students who are aiming to appear for their DELF Prem or DELF Junior examinations. So hurry up and check it out. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. And in this video, as I told you, I received a number of different requests from my students stating that they need a video on the topic l'impératif. In English, that's known as imperative. So I thought, why not record a video on this topic? Also, before we start, in case you like the video, please do not forget to hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and mention your comments in the comment section below. Also, in case you're not following me on my Instagram page, which is Learn French by Suchita, I would request you to follow me there as well for all the updates and reminders. So let's get started. And for that, I'll take you to my screen. So I hope all of you can see my screen now. I'm going to divide this topic into two videos. In the first part, I will be teaching you the imperative of the normal verbs. And in the second part of the series, I will be teaching you the imperative of the pronominal verbs. So since this is the first video of the series, I'm going to teach you the imperative of the normal verbs here. Before we begin the topic imperative, let's first understand what exactly are the imperative sentences. So basically, in English as well, this topic exists. In English as well, the imperative sentences are the sentences which are used to give the orders, or which are used to give the suggestions. That's what I have written. On utilise l'impératif pour donner des ordres, des conseils, etc. Which means that you use imperative in order to give the orders or in order to give the suggestions, etc. For example, sit down, get up, close the door, open the books, don't make noise. All these are imperative sentences. Here in all these sentences, I'm either giving the order or I'm giving the suggestion. If you see that all these sentences begin directly with the verb, there is no subject here. In the sense that I am not saying you sit down. There is no subject here. We directly say sit down, get up, close the door, open your notebooks. So all these sentences directly begin with the verb. That can be a positive sentence, that can be a negative sentence, but they're going to directly begin with the verb. Now, in French as well, the imperative sentences always begin with the verb. There is no subject. We do not write the subject there. Let's move on to the rules now. Les règles, which means the rules. The first one, on peut donner des ordres à tu, nous et vous, which means that how many subjects do we have? We have je, tu, il, elle, on, nous, vous, il, and elle. By the way, if you do not know what are subject pronouns, I'm going to drop the link in the card above. You can watch that video and then come back here again. Now, out of all these subjects, you can give orders only to tu, nous, and vous. We can give orders only to tu, nous, and vous. There is a reason behind that. What is the reason? What are the other subjects which are left? For example, je. Je means I. You cannot give the orders to yourself. That's the reason the imperative form is not really possible with je. Now with you can give the orders. Il, elle, singular, and il, elle, pluriel. Why can't you give them the orders? The reason is that all of these are third person. You can give the orders only to the person whom you're talking to. You can give the orders only to the second person. Let's say if I am talking, so I am the first person, I am talking to somebody else, so that is the second person. So I can give the orders only to the person whom I'm talking to. The third person who is not involved in the conversation, I cannot give the orders. So that's the reason with il, elle, singular, and il, elle, pluriel, all of them are third persons. Third person subjects, you cannot give the orders to third person. Even in English, that's not really possible. Second, quand on écrit une phrase impérative, on n'écrit pas de sujet. What does that mean? When you write an imperative sentence, you really do not write the subject. That's what I was explaining you, that the imperative sentences, they directly begin with the verb. You do not write the subject, just like you do in English. You directly say, get up, close the door, sit down, Open the book. So all of them are beginning directly with the verb. Open, close, get up, sit. All these are verbs. So you do not write the subject. You remove the subject. And then the third one, which states, à la fin des phrases impératives, on met un point d'exclamation, which means that at the end of imperative sentences, you generally put an exclamation mark. Okay, so let's start with the first verb, and the first verb is the verb prendre. Prendre, which means to take. Now, if you see on the left-hand side, I have written the conjugation of the verb in the present tense. And then on the right-hand side, I have converted that into imperative. So, when you write a verb in the present tense, of course, you can write with all the subjects. You can write with je, tu, il, elle, on, nous, vous, il, elle, pluriel. You can write with absolutely all the subjects. So that's what I have done. I've written je prends, tu prends, il, elle prend, nous prenons, vous prenez, il, elle prennent. So you can write absolutely with all the subjects. Now, when we change them into imperative, if you can see with je, il, elle, on and il, elle pluriel, I have put a dash over there. Reason being that the imperative sentences are not really possible with other subjects other than tu, nous and vous. So, what have I done? If you see tu prends, I have just removed tu and I've written prends as it is with an exclamation mark. That's what you have to do. So, prends. With nous, it would be nous prenons. So you remove nous, so that becomes prenons. And with vous prenez, you have removed vous and it becomes prenez. So you see, even if I do not write the subject with prends, prenons or prenez, their conjugation itself tells that that's with subject. Okay. Now, tu prends. The imperative is prends. The meaning is take. So let's say if I'm giving orders to one of my friends. So of course, with friends, we share the informal relationship. That's why I'm going to give the order to tu over here. So that's why the form would be prends. I would say prends ton dîner. With nous is we. So prenons would mean let's take. If I want to say let's take the dinner, so we do not really have a translation for saying let's. We would say prenons notre dîner. Let's take our dinner. And let's say if I want to give orders to a lot of people and I want to say take your dinner, then I will use the form vous. I would say prenez votre dîner. So prends, prenons, prenez. The meaning is take, let's take, and take. Let's move on with our next verb, and the verb is venir. Venir, which means to come. Now that's again a third group verb. On the left hand side, I have written the conjugation of the verb in the present tense, and then on the right hand side, I've converted into imperative. Now, with je, it is je viens, tu viens, il, elle, on vient, nous venons, vous venez, il, elle viennent. So that's the conjugation of the verb venir in the present tense. By the way, if you do not know how do you conjugate a verb in the present tense, there are multiple videos that I have uploaded on my YouTube channel for different groups. So I'm going to mention the link of some of these videos in the card above. If you want, you can watch that video and then come back here again. All right. So now, while changing from present to imperative, as I told you, with je, with il, elle, on, and with il, elle pluriel, the imperative forms are not possible. So that's why I have put a dash over there. Now, what do you need to do? You simply need to remove tu, nous, and vous, and you need to write the verb directly. So that's why you are seeing viens, venons, et venez. Now, viens, which means come. Venons, which means let's come. Venez, which means come again. So principally, in order to know the imperative tense, first of all, you should know what is present tense, because imperative forms are derived only from the present tense itself. Let's move on with our third verb, and the verb is boire. Boire, which means to drink. Again, that's a third group verb. In the present tense, the conjugation is je bois, tu bois, il, elle, on boit, nous buvons, vous buvez, il, elle boivent. Now, in imperative, with je, il, elle, on, il, elle pluriel, it's not possible, so I have put a dash over there. Now, what do you need to do? You just need to remove tu, nous, and vous and write the verb as it is. So it becomes boire, which means drink, buvons, which means let's drink, and with vous, it is buvez. So boire, buvons, buvez. Drink, let's drink, drink. Okay, let's start with the next rule, and which is a very important rule in imperative. In case of ER verbs, if you see I've written les verbes ER. In case of ER verbs with tu, on n'écrit pas de S. Let me explain you what does that mean. So first of all, you should know what are ER verbs and how do you conjugate them. If you do not know what are ER verbs and how do you conjugate them, I'm going to drop the link in the card above. You can watch that video and then come back here again. So the rule says that in case of ER verbs, with the subject tu, you drop the S. You do not write S. Let me explain you this with an example. So let's start with the verb parler. Parler. So if you see the verb parler that ends with ER, that's why it is an ER verb. Parler, P-A-R-L-E-R. It ends with ER. Now, on the left hand side, I have written the conjugation of the verb in the present tense, which is je parle, tu parles, il, elle, on parle, nous parlons, vous parlez, il, elle parle. Now, with je, with il, elle, on, and with il, elle pluriel, imperative forms are not possible, so that is why they are left blank. With tu, nous, and vous, of course, we have to write the imperative forms, which I have written. What you need to do is, with tu, since parler is an ER verb, with you have to drop S. So in the imperative form, if you can see, I have not written parle with an S. I have written without an S. So parle. With nous, you will write parlons. With vous, you will write parler. There is no change in case of nous and vous. So that happens only in the case of ER verbs and only in the case of tu. In case of all the ER verbs, with tu, with the subject tu, you drop the S. You do not write the S. That's why in the imperative case, you are seeing parle without an S, because parler is an ER verb. The meanings are same. Speak, let's speak, and speak. Now, let's take up the next ER verb, and the verb is aller. Aller, which means to go. On the left-hand side, again, I have written the conjugation of the verb in the present tense. That's je vais, tu vas, il, elle, on va, nous allons, vous allez, ils, elles vont. In imperative, of course, with je, il, elle, on, il, elle pluriel, it's not possible. So therefore, it's left blank. Now with tu, can you see that in the imperative form, I have dropped an S? Reason being, in case of tu, with all the ER verbs, you drop the S. That's why it's not VAS, that's va, without an S. Va, go. Allons, with nous and vous, you just need to remove nous and vous and you will write the conjugation as it is. So allons et aller. So va, allons et aller. Now, till now, what we were doing was, we were actually using the present tense itself to make the imperative forms. There are 4 verbs which are exceptions to this rule, which are être, avoir, savoir, and vouloir, which I have written on the left-hand side. Être, avoir, savoir, and vouloir. These 4 verbs are the only exceptions in case of imperative tense. Now, what are the exceptions? The exceptions are these 4 verbs change completely in case of imperative. With tu, the verb être becomes sois. Nous becomes soyons. And vous becomes soyez. With avoir, with tu, it becomes ayez. With nous, it becomes ayons. And with vous, it becomes ayez. In the word savoir, savoir which means to know. With tu, it becomes sache. With nous, it becomes sachons. And with vous, it becomes sachez. So you see, these forms are completely different from what we write in the present tense. Okay. Now, vouloir, with tu, it becomes veuille. Vouloir, which means to want. Now, with tu, it becomes veuille. With nous, it becomes veuillons. And with vous, it becomes veuillez. So let me repeat the pronunciation for you. Sois, soyons, soyez. Ayez, ayons, ayez. Sache, sachons, sachez. Veuille, veuillons, veuillez. So 4 verbs are exceptions. Être, avoir, savoir, and vouloir. Être, which means to be. Avoir, which means to have. Savoir, which means to know. And vouloir, which means to want. Let's understand this with an example. Tu es intelligent. Tu es intelligent, which is you are intelligent. That's not exactly an imperative sentence. That's a normal sentence because you have the subject here, tu. Now you see after tu, you have the verb être. Tu es. That's the verb être. In case you do not know how do you conjugate the verb être in the present tense, I'm going to drop the link of the video in the card above. You can watch that video and then come back here again. So tu es intelligent. A is the verb être in the present tense. So now, what happens is we have to change from the present tense to the imperative. So of course we have to remove tu. I told you, you remove the subject tu. Remove the subject tu. Then what you have is est. That's the verb être. First of all, you should know which verb it is. Now, in the case of the verb être, if you can see on the screen, I'm highlighting it. The verb être with tu, it changes into sois. So this means that tu es intelligent, which means you are intelligent. That's a normal sentence. Now you want to change it into an order. You want to say be intelligent. So what happens? In the case of the verb être, veux-tu, it becomes sois. So it changes into sois intelligent. So basically sois is the imperative form of the verb être. Tu es intelligent, that's the normal sentence. Changing it into imperative will become sois intelligent. Be intelligent. Let's take up the next example, and that's vous avez du courage. You have some courage. So this is which verb? This is the verb avoir. Avoir. In the present tense. You have some courage. Vous avez du courage. Now you want to change from the present tense to imperative. What are you going to do? You are of course going to remove vous. Remove that. Avoir with vous becomes ayez. So your sentence would look something like this. Ayez du courage. Ayez du courage. Basically, ayez is the imperative form of the verb avoir. Vous avez du courage, which means you have some courage. And then ayez du courage, which means have some courage. Now, till now, we were doing only the affirmative sentences. That means we were doing only the positive sentences. Let's start with how does it happen in the negative sentences. I've written an example in front of you, that is, tu n'as pas peur. Tu n'as pas peur, which means you are not scared or you are not afraid. So what happens is that of course, you have to remove tu as per whatever I have told you. Then you have to look at the verb. Which verb it is? It is the verb avoir. And if you see before and after that, I have ne and pas. That makes the sentence negative. You are not scared. Now you have to you have to change it into imperative, which becomes do not be scared. I want to say do not be scared. So it changes nothing. Basically, you have to write it in the same way. And you have to just write ne and pas before and after the verb. Okay. So let's go to the verb avoir. I told you the verb avoir, that's an exceptional verb. With you, that changes into a. So that's a peur. A peur. Now, since it is negative, what have I done? I've just put ne before the verb and pas after the verb, which makes it negative. So there is no change in the negative sentence. There is nothing new about the negative sentence. You have to follow all the rules which I've told you in the similar way. Just that you have to put ne and pas before and after the verb. Now, let me take you to the second example, which is vous ne regardez pas la télé. You do not watch the television. Now, I want to change it into the order. I want to change it into the imperative sentence, which makes it do not watch the television. So what do you need to remove? Simply remove vous and say ne regardez pas la télé. Now, on your screen, you're seeing some of the practice questions that I have written for you. These are just the questions, and these are the sentences written in the present tense. Now, your task is that you need to change these sentences into the imperative tense. I'm going to mention the correct answers of all these sentences in the description box below. So I would request you first, you do it on your own and then check your answers from the description box. And if you still have any doubts or queries or questions, you can mention them in the comment section below. I would be happy to help you. If you like this video, do not forget to hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and for daily updates and reminders, do not forget to hit the bell button. And I'll see you soon with the next video. Till then, au revoir, à bientôt et bisous bisous.